Mugabe's likely successor Mnangagwa due back in Zimbabwe November 22, 2017. These are external links and will open in a new window. Close share panel. Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption How news of Robert Mugabe's resignation was greeted across Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe's former vice president, whose sacking led to the shock resignation of longtime leader Robert Mugabe, could be sworn in as the new president within hours, the ruling party says. Emmerson Mnangagwa, who fled to South Africa 2 weeks ago, is due to arrive back on Wednesday, the Zanu-PF says. His dismissal led both the party and the military to intervene and force an end to Mr Mugabe's 37-year-long rule. The news sparked wild celebrations across the country late into the night. The announcement that the 93-year-old was stepping down came in the form of a letter readout in Parliament on Wednesday, abruptly halting impeachment proceedings against him. In it, Mr Mugabe said he was resigning to allow a smooth and peaceful transfer of power, and that his decision was voluntary. How Zimbabwe is celebrating. A Zanu-PF spokesman said Mr Mnangagwa, 71, would serve the remainder of Mr Mugabe's term until elections which are due to take place by September 2018. He is expected to land back in Zimbabwe at 11:30 GMT and later be sworn in. An ally to the former vice president, Larry Mavhima, told Reuters news agency. Together, we will ensure a peaceful transition to the consolidation of our democracy, and bring in a fresh start for all Zimbabweans and foster peace and unity, Mr Mnangagwa said in comments to Zimbabwe's Newsday on Tuesday. Image copyright AFP. Image caption Emmerson Mnangagwa was once a key Mugabe ally but also chief rival to Grace Mugabe as possible successor. Mr Mnangagwa's firing by Robert Mugabe 2 weeks ago triggered an unprecedented political crisis in the country. It had been seen by many as an attempt to clear the way for Grace Mugabe to succeed her husband as leader and riled the military leadership, who stepped in and put Mr Mugabe under house arrest. The move to appoint Mr Mnangagwa as Robert Mugabe's successor appears to go against the constitution, which would normally give the post to the serving vice president, Felix Mfoko. Mr Mfoko, a key ally of Grace Mugabe, is not believed to be in the country. Some have questioned whether the handover to Mr Mnangagwa will bring about real change in the country. Opposition leader Morgan Tsvangirai told the BBC he hoped that Zimbabwe was on a new trajectory that would include free and fair elections. He said Mr Mugabe should be allowed to go and rest for his last days. Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption Morgan Tsvangirai told the BBC he hoped that Zimbabwe was on a new trajectory. Prominent opposition politician David Coulthard tweeted, "We have removed a tyrant but not yet a tyranny." African Union President Alpha Condé said he was truly delighted by the news, but expressed regret at the way Mr Mugabe's rule has ended. It is a shame that he is leaving through the back door and that he is forsaken by the parliament, he said. Celebrations in the streets at 93, Mr Mugabe was, until his resignation, the world's oldest leader. He once proclaimed that only God could remove him. Lawmakers from the ruling party and opposition roared with glee when the resignation letter was read aloud in Parliament on Wednesday. Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption Activist and political candidate Vima Ishmuzvaburi breaks down in tears of joy. Activist and political candidate Vima Ishmuzvaburi broke down in tears of joy speaking to the BBC. "We are tired of this man, we are so glad he's gone. We don't want him anymore, and yes, today, it's victory," she said. A City Sings. Fergal Keane, BBC Africa editor, Harare. Driving through Harare, the cheers and the blaring of car horns signaled the end of the Mugabe era. The man who dominated Zimbabwe for so long has already begun to fade into history here. It is a city singing with the noise of joy. Exactly a week after the military first moved against President Mugabe, I was standing in Parliament as legislators debated the motion to impeach him. Suddenly, there was cheering. An usher approached the speaker and handed him a letter. He stood to speak and we strained to hear his words. They were muffled but momentous. Robert Mugabe had resigned. On the floor of the Parliament I met jubilant MPs. Some danced. Celebrations spilled into the hallways and out into the street. Robert Mugabe, timeline of a political life. Image copyright AFP image caption President Mugabe was accused of preparing the presidency for his wife Grace 1924, born in Kutama 1964, imprisoned by Rhodesian government 1980, wins post-independence elections 1996, marries Grace Marufu 2000, loses referendum. Pro-Mugabe militias invade white-owned farms and attack opposition supporters 2008, comes second in first round of elections to Morgan Tsvangirai, who pulls out of runoff amid nationwide attacks on his supporters 2009, amid economic collapse, swears in Mr Tsvangirai as Prime Minister, who serves in uneasy government of national unity for 4 years 2017, sacks longtime ally Vice President Emmerson Mnangagwa, paving the way for his wife Grace to succeed him. Army intervenes and forces him to step down. Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption Mugabe, from war hero to